post it later. All right, we are recording and we're just getting started. Just to recap, there were some issues with some questions, and NTI day number 4 has 4 attempts available, so you can retake that if you had any issues. I did fix a couple of the questions in there that had wrong answers. Also, the reading check for today, the short answer was giving people some issues. I added some instructions to that question, and I probably won't count it if it's wrong against your grades. So that kind of recaps everything. I also set up a discussion board. It's called Help. It's right at the top of the course. Again, I'll jump in and just show real quick. Here's the screen sharing. Here we go. It is right here. You go to the class. It is right at the top. It says help, post questions and concerns here, right underneath the iReady, ReadWorks, and Tangerine resources. So anything that you need, you can post there and it will email me. So even if I'm at the grocery store or somewhere else or it's midnight, I will get an email from that post. So that's just to recap. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so today we are looking at, I'm on my call log. I need the notes from chapter Wednesday, September 27th. I thought we might change things up a little bit since we're getting better at this, and we have this awesome video conferencing software that seems to be working great. Does anyone want to kind of summarize what happens in this chapter on Wednesday, September 27th? Any volunteers? Serenity, are you thinking about it?
No, I'm working on other classes while we're.
Okay. Well, all right. Maybe tomorrow you guys can summarize a little bit. And I'm in the process of calling students who have not logged into Moodle since we've left. I was hoping to see Aiden Freeman in here, but he did mention having to charge his cell phone. So we're going to get more and more, hopefully, in the live sessions. I think they're very beneficial. So Wednesday, September 27th. Let me pull up the actual chapter. You know, I did cut up the, I should do it on screen sharing with you guys. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I did pull each chapter out. I need to turn editing off. There we go. And that way it's a little bit easier so you don't have to go hunting through the digital copy to find the chapter. So I'm going down to NTI day number 7. Here it is. And Wednesday, September 27th. Yep, that's today. So pulling up the chapter, right there it is. And it's like 2-3 pages, I think. So he starts off where they're at practice, and Victor wasn't allowed to play because he had stitches. So his head, I think, was cut a couple of chapters ago. He ripped him open again in the last game. That's how Paul got to play. And Paul scored his first goal as a result. And Victor's not real happy about this. He's happy that, you know, Paul's doing good. And he kind of gives Paul a little bit of guff, but not a lot. And you can tell he's just not happy about this. So during practice, he starts getting on Joey's case. And the coach told him to knock it off. Well, they were walking home after practice, and he starts in on again, saying, you know, asking if he wants to drink this big gulp and just giving him a hard time. And Joey doesn't react well to it. If you remember, Joey was kind of bullied by Eric and, oh gosh, Eric's friend quite a few chapters ago. And he doesn't take well to it. So this goes on, and he starts calling Joey. Does anyone know what he starts calling Joey off the top of their heads? Let me pull up. I don't think I can have the chat open at the same time as screen sharing. So let me see here. Okay, well, they start calling him Charlie the Tuna, and he doesn't know it yet, but that's probably going to stick. And Victor's kind of probably acting out because he didn't get a chance to play, and he considers himself a much better player than especially Joey, because we know Joey is not that good from what Paul said last chapter 2 ago. So Victor ends up leaving when Paul's mom picks up Paul and Joey, and she's taking him home. When they get to Joey's subdivision, all the houses or some of the houses on his street are tented. And being from Kentucky, you probably have not ever seen this, but in Florida, they actually put huge tents that completely cover even two-story houses over the houses so that they can pump gas into it to kill all the roaches and termites and bugs in the house. So it's what the exterminators do. And the tents are usually like yellow and red striped. You would almost think they're like a carnival type thing. They're silly looking. I've never seen signs that say poison gas like it says in the chapter, but this is what's happening in Joey's neighborhood. They end up talking about it, and Paul's mom asked Joey if he wants to spend the night, and Victor had teased him about that and always hanging around Paul. So that was probably not the best thing to bring up, but she didn't know. Joey said he did not want to stay there. But then Paul also informs us reminds us about Eric and Eric's friend kind of being mean to Joey. And he said he probably never set foot in Paul's house again or ever stayed the night again because of that. And then that brings us to the last line of the chapter, which I thought was pretty interesting. It says, I gotta find it here. The last paragraph. So they were talking about his mom was asking why he wouldn't want to come over. Paul says, I shrugged and said, I don't know. But of course I do know. Joey hasn't set foot in our house since the day he met up with Eric and Arthur. Arthur was the name I was forgetting. He will probably never set foot in it again. But Mom could never understand that. For Joey, our house may as well be covered with canvas and bound by ropes because it's filled with poison. So he's kind of drawing a comparison between the tents being fumigated in Joey's neighborhood and the fact that Eric is mean and lives in Paul's house. He's kind of like a toxic, poisonous figure in Paul's house. So that's kind of a metaphor, if you will. So that pretty much wraps up everything with the chapter today. Man, you guys are getting off pretty easy on this NTI Day stuff. These chapters go by quick. Make sure that you have read it. And let's go back. And I do have the reading check in here. So let's take a look at the reading check. And we'll attempt it. So the reading check says, who starts picking on Joy? Just enter the first name of the person below. Well, just for the heck of it, let's test it. Victor. And why is Joey's house tented with signs that say poison gas? They found a gas leak under his house because he is infected with roaches it is infected with roaches and termites. His house is being remodeled. That could be a tough question for you guys because it briefly says why in the chapter, but the correct answer is it's to exterminate termites and roaches. So let's finish the attempt, and I think that attempt went pretty well. Gosh, my thing's in the way there, I can't see. So I believe submit all and finish. Submit all and finish. And I got both right. There we go. So now you have a good idea of what's going on in the chapter. You see that the quiz is functioning pretty well. And that is all I had for content for you guys under Thursday. And I will post this recording. I did have a lot of students watching the recording, so it must be beneficial. So I'll post this. Let's go back to stop sharing my screen. in the chat. Let's see if there's any questions. All right. So, oh, is my audio okay? Oops. Is that better? I forgot I have to kind of talk into this big blue mic, so that should probably be a lot better. I should have saw that earlier. Sorry, guys. Let me see. Oh, Aiden's joining us. Okay, great. What was I going to say? So, totally lost my train of thought there. I think everything is good with the chapter today. Are there any questions? No questions? If you do have a question, just type it in the chat. We'll keep an eye on it. As far as what I've heard from school, the teachers are talking about in our like, what are they called? Google Meet video conference meetings. We have them at 10 in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. That's why I set ours to be at 1:30. They have about a lot of students are not really logging in, and people are not sure if they're doing the paper copy work at home or if they're doing the online stuff, but we kind of know who has internet access. So if I log into Moodle, for instance, and I pull up the logs and students have previously logged in from home, I can see that. So if they haven't logged in since school let out, kind of raises some concerns. So the teachers have been talking about how to contact students. That's kind of starting really to ramp up today, probably moving in next week. It's going to really start to ramp up. So students that aren't logging in, who are not communicating with the instructors, will probably be getting phone calls home. That was a big part of our meeting this morning. What else? Grades came up. Dr. Kirby suggested that we not put in zeros, but the concern of the teachers are if we're out for 2-3 weeks, there's some issues with the students are going to, if they don't do anything, they're going to just wham, get a failing grade if we grade everything when we come back. And they'll think that they're doing fine. Parents will think that they're doing fine. And Dr. Kirby was said, well, you know, if you put in zeros for the NTI work this week, for instance, it might discourage kids from doing it because you can do it at later points. We don't really have hard due dates, but as every teacher's concerned about students procrastinating, waiting too long, and then having too much to do. So that was a big part of the discussion. I suggested that we enter the zeros into gradebook, and they're actually checking on this for the this afternoon's meeting. As I said, if you don't post the grades, the students don't see the grade updates. That way, I can see who has zeros and what the overall grade is for each student in the class. And as soon as they hit a failing grade, then they're going to be number one on my list to make contact with and call home. So Dr. Kirby's checking on that. I think that's what they're going to have us do. And then I also have notes for this afternoon. I called a couple of students today, and instead of having, because in 7th grade you have the same teachers, I'm gonna suggest that we create a log that all of us teachers can see. So if I get a hold of one of the teachers, I can let them know that I've talked to the student. And then I'm also going to ask that they give all the login information for every system that they're using. Make sure that they share that. So if I call a student at home and they don't know how to log into Miss Madden's class or Miss Markham's class, I can give them that information, and then I'll log that on a sheet so the teachers can see it. This will alleviate, 6 teachers from having to call the same student and basically repeat the same thing. So that's what I'm hoping to talk about in our teacher meeting this afternoon. Are they going to put us off longer? Question. At this point in time, there hasn't been any talk of that. The tentative plan, I think, is for you guys to return on, here, hang on, let me grab my calendar on my phone. I believe it's the 6th of April. So spring break is Yeah, I believe you guys are set to return on the 6th of April. Now, will that happen? Your guess is as good as mine. It's hard to say if things really turn around with the coronavirus and numbers start to go down. There's probably a good chance. If there's not any improvement and there's still a problem with large social gatherings, it could possibly be called off longer. They might do something like bring in teachers and not bring in students. There's a lot of different things that they might do. What do I think they would do? They might cancel the whole year. If we get to April 6th, we've got till maybe 4 weeks of instruction left, so they might cancel. Serenity says my aunt teaches at the high school and she said that there's talk about canceling the whole year. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's plausible. It'd be kind of exciting because I would hope we could do this teaching from home thing every day and actually get credit for the year. It's just getting everyone to participate. I need a lot more students on the live classroom sessions and students doing the work more. Right now I have about 60 students that completed NTID4, and it kind of drops down from there to about 24 completed the work for today. So as long as the numbers stay good, it could be a good thing. I would say if we're having a lot of trouble contacting students and getting students to do the work, they're going to probably want to bring students back sooner. But if this distance learning is working well, they might be inclined to let it go the whole year. So there's a lot of variables on this. Are there any other questions? Bottom right corner, Aiden, look at the arrow and click it. Okay. Not sure the context. No other questions? Anybody? You can use your audio, or you can just type in the chat room. So let me think if there's anything else going on. Let me look at tomorrow's work. Tomorrow's Friday. So we're going to be reading September 29th in Tangerine. And I'm going to put up a quiz, a longer quiz, probably 15, 20 questions. I will do my best to put audio with the quiz questions. No guarantees. The program that was doing that before is about $650 a year. And in light of recent events, I'm not prepared to spend that, but I do think if I record the questions independently, I can manually put them in with each question. So it'll be a 10, 15 question quiz, but at least it'll have audio. It's time consuming to do those. So, will we have class on Saturday or something? Wow. Currently, no, I don't have any plans to have a live class session on Saturday or Sunday. However, if you are behind on any of your work, I would strongly suggest using the weekend to get caught up with it. What you should ideally be doing is making sure that week one's work is done in week one, and then start week two fresh and continue on with it knowing that week one's done. If you don't, and we start getting in towards April 6th and we don't come back, a lot of students are not going to be able to catch up, or won't have, whatever the means to catch up. So it's real important to keep up with the classwork for every class week to week. So if you haven't completed everything for all your teachers by Friday, then yeah, I would suggest using Saturday and Sunday to make sure everything is done. Are there any other questions? Do any of you have friends or know friends, 7th graders, for instance, that just simply don't have internet, like through the PRTC people? I'm just curious because I have an idea. See if anyone types in the chat. Well, I was curious because I thought about, after my meeting today with the teachers, calling I think it's called the PRTC, the the public telephone company, whatever. It's who you get internet from here in McKee. And I was going to ask them, if it would be, if they could, why not maybe provide free internet to students to families who have students in Jackson Public Schools, as long as their homes are reachable and currently can be connected without a new install or running miles of cable, of course. So if it's just a matter of, paying for the internet and, maybe the family's gotten rid of it or couldn't afford it, didn't want it. If there is a financial issue, maybe the telephone company here in McKee would extend that service for free as long as they had a student enrolled in Jackson County Public Schools. So that's why I was asking if you knew anyone that didn't have internet. As I'm wondering, I think I've got maybe 6 or 7 kids out of 130 that don't have it. So maybe it's because they live off the beaten path and they can't get it. So do you guys have any questions? Can everyone hear me okay? Let me just double check my audio. Yep, using the snowball. Okay. Well, let me message. So it looks like Aiden's having trouble hearing me. I don't know if he's using a phone, but let me type to him real quick. Make sure. That's not working. Make sure I'm not muted. Your volume is up.
Yeah.
And your volume. Okay, good enough. Enter. Oops, I just sent that to the wrong person. Sorry. How do I get out of this privately thing? Everyone publicly. Okay, so paste. Okay, there you go. All right. So any other questions? When will we get an update? Probably tomorrow during our live session. If there's anything really important that comes up in our teacher meeting this afternoon, I can put it in the discussion board. So check the discussion board. I'd like to start using that pretty readily because students that are not part of the live session that do have internet, they might be able to have a voice in there as well. So I'll post a lot in the discussion board, the announcements. So if you haven't subscribed to that, please do so. And make sure your email is correct in your profile. And that's the last thing I'll cover for today. If you're still having trouble hearing me, I'll see what we can do about that here later. Let me go to the screen sharing and show you guys how to make sure your email is correct in your profile. So if you go into the course or the site, your name is going to appear right in the top. You're going to drop that down, go to profile, and it'll pull up this screen. And you're going to want to edit profile. You edit your profile right here. And just make sure that don't mess with your username. I don't think you can mess with your password, but if you can, leave it alone so y'all don't forget it. Make sure that your email address right here is correct, and it's the one that you use, because the forum posts are going to push to that email address. So if that email is not correct or not one you use, you won't see the updates from the discussion. So once you make those changes, you just go down at the bottom, update profile, and you should be good. So let me see. I think that's all there is for that. Go back home here and go into English RTI and see if I missed anything. I think everything else is good. It's hard to keep college instructors struggle to keep their classes organized with only teaching 2 days a week. In K-12, it's 5 days a week. So I'm trying to keep this as organized as best as possible. So it's going to go by each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If I hide the weeks to make it easier for you guys who are current, the problem is the students that need to make up work won't be able to get into it. So moving forward, there's going to be a lot of scrolling with going from, Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday to Friday, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I will put the day and the date and the NTI day number for each module. And that's all you have to do for that day is what's in the module. So you can see here, this is Tuesday's module. This is Wednesdays, and I'm going to keep this format so it stays clean. I'll probably clean up some of this that I did before we left. I was trying to make it easier for when we were in class. So this is kind of going to turn into a full online class like you would see at the colleges as far as how it looks. So I can stop sharing my screen there. Okay. Yes, I will post an update and let you know what I know in the discussion forum as soon as our meeting's over. Are there any other questions? Give you guys a second. Actually, I have to call into my meeting right now. Let's see here. How do I do that? All right. Give me 1 second. Don't see any more questions. All right. 1 second, guys. Not sure what's going on with this. All right. All right. Enjoy meeting. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's any more questions. So, in fact, I'll let you guys see what we do. This is our meetings. That's your teachers. And so I will meet with you guys tomorrow. And if you do have any questions, remember, email me, post in discussion board. And that's all we have for today. So have a good day, guys. I don't see any other questions.